Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Daniel Sabol, and welcome to the Cognitive Edge. Today, I have a special guest with me. I have County Executive Ken Jenkins, who has done nothing but amazing things for Westchester County. He's had a long career in politics and in government, and he's made nothing but change that has been positive throughout the years. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Jenkins, and I'm going to let him take the stage now and sort of kind of tell your story about how you got to where you are.
Well, first, Dr. Sable, thank you so much for having me on the Cognitive Edge, and certainly be able to talk through different things. I got engaged certainly in our political process, working up my way in the Democratic side of the House, including being the secretary of the Westchester County Democratic Committee, doing some various other things on the political side, including being the state treasurer for the New York State Democratic Committee. On the political side, I was the chair of the Yonkers Democratic Committee and certainly supporting Andrea Stewart-Cousins as she made her move up to New York State Senate, where she's our majority leader and represents both of us right now. I'm doing fantastic work there as well. And then I followed in her footsteps, first being on the Board of Legislators, chairman of the Board of Legislators, running and competing with George Latimer to be county executive back in 2017, and been deputy county executive 7 years, and now been appointed, elected, and reelected as a county executive. So I'm not running this year, thank you, but we're
Okay.
working as hard as we can to continue to move Westchester forward. So it's been great for me and for my family, but more importantly, for the people of Westchester. I enjoy this work. The Governor Hochul, said about me one time, it's a happy warrior. I enjoy working and interacting with people throughout our 45 municipalities in Westchester County. And as you pointed out in the introduction, trying to resolve issues and trying to get things done. And that's the best job that we can all do, working together in partnership in every community, whether it's a Democratic community, Republican community, nonpartisan community. We have those as well, and trying to keep Westchester moving forward.
Understood. And it's been like I said, just something else to watch the way you've come up the ladder and you never gave up. You just kept going and going. And the happy warrior is an understatement, I think.
Well,
Um,
mhm.
so where right now do you see um, education education and technology, like public libraries, libraries in general.
Mhm.
Where do you see them going in the next three? I know it's hard to predict with these different things, but where do you see them sort of being in the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, one of the things that, as many people know, Dr. Sable, is that my degree is in computer science and information systems from Iona University. Was Iona College when I went. That's how long
Yes,
ago it
me too.
was, when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Okay.
But more importantly, again, how all that interaction happens. As a person that really thinks that education is the key for people to be able to move up, and more importantly, for us to understand the challenges that we've had and the things that we've overcome. When we're in this 250th year of celebrating America, this is why education and libraries specifically are really, really important. People would like to change and erase or make modifications or don't like pieces of the history, but all the pieces are important. And when you really think about this, especially with the Declaration of Independence, that you talk about, the Declaration of Independence, we all think about, all men are created equal. We hold these truths to be self-evident, etc. But they don't realize that if you really read the Declaration of Independence, it's a big list of grievances against the British monarchy, against the king. And when you put the pieces together and you think about the 13 colonies that became 13 states, and how New York kind of held out till the end because the legislature didn't give them permission to sign off, which is why we didn't sign off initially, but we signed off 3 days later. So again, we were in good shape to be able to continue to move forward from a New York State perspective. The interaction and intersection between education and our libraries could not be more important at this time. So as more technology gets infused into our lives, and whether that's from artificial intelligence and AI, or from any other things that happen, the library's always been that forefront where people have access. So it doesn't make a difference on how much resources you have. When I was growing up, Dr. Sabol, everyone always had that encyclopedia. Somebody went around the block and knocked on the door and sold the encyclopedias and the world books, and everyone had their own set of things. But everyone couldn't afford to do that. And the library was able to provide that information for people to be that resource. And technology increases and infuses every part of all of our lives. And we went from having a computer that was a supercomputer that took up all the room and couldn't do what the things our smartphones could do right now. And for people like me, I carry two, right? One for work and one for personal, because you got to keep your lives separate. But the library is so much of a key to that. And every time something changes, our libraries are at the forefront of that. And whether it's from the Westchester library system, which helps coordinate and making sure every one of those resources get distributed, because every library can't have everything. The way that we can do that, that's the way the library system, Westchester library system, helps make sure that everyone gets to do that. But now, whether or not it's an audio book, people get of the age and they're more to listen to those books as opposed to reading them, but they should read too, right? And you do combinations of both. Being able to have computers where people can access, identify job opportunities, do different things, get training, get all these things that happen inside of our libraries. And that's the connection to me personally for school, right? In education. I really feel strongly education as you grow up gives you a chance to interact with people that you may not have had a chance to. I was privileged enough to go to a parochial school, an elementary school level, and then we're going to high school at Fordham Prep, and then continuing to do that kind of thing. You get to see so many things through that education. So the combination of education and the libraries are so important for us to be able to learn from the past, prepare ourselves for the future, make sure that we don't duplicate errors, and more importantly, learn about different folks and different things. And again, the more that we get that chance, it is just so much better if we're able to expand people's minds. And I appreciated the state's change of taking smartphones away from people in schools at the high school and lower levels, in our primary and secondary education system, so people can focus, learn how to talk to each other again, and be able to interact, move their bodies around a little bit, but more importantly, to be able to hear from someone else and be able to sit and talk to people. And that's the biggest thing, I work on Dr. Sable every day is going around those 45 municipalities and letting people know that we're here for them, not just showing up, but listening to them and trying to make a difference.
Right now I think education and um uh New York and um our state um uh government is somewhat in a little bit of a flux, I think, maybe with budgets and kind of nailing down a hard curriculum. Um, uh, I'm hearing some people or some administrators in the school say, that they're pro phone, that they're against the phone, and I feel like what you say is, there's no more um, interpersonal skills among students. Everybody talks through, like you said, like through a phone, and that needs to be taken away. I remember when I was just like you were saying, when I was a kid growing up, I grew up in Yonkers. I'm a guy from Yonkers. I went to Iona University as well. And the connections were always there, the interpersonal, the
Mm.
talking, the um, at least there are some video games starting to come onto the scene, but it was still everybody was out riding their bike, everybody was out, right?
Uh,
It's like what
those
it's
memories, Dr. Sable, make a big difference. And again,
yes.
wherever the communities are, which is why, again, being in the United States, in the 250th year of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and says, why is this so important? Why wasn't it an experiment? Why was it the first time these things happened? And again, the more that we have this opportunity, and education gives that opportunity. And of course, when you get up into the college levels and certainly into the graduate degree levels, you're pushing the envelopes, which for me, I always thought that's where you should do those kind of experimental places where right before you're crossing over to a line where something may be a challenge from a legal perspective, that you're able to have these conversations, have these in an open dialogue, and be able to learn more about things that were happening, communities that you may not be a part of, cultures that you may not have been a part of, the country that we live in. One of the things that happens, especially here in Westchester, a lot of people just don't realize and remember and understand that we are in a place that was the neutral ground in that particular, from a history perspective. So we were between the patriots and the loyalists, between the people that were supporting of the British monarchy and those folks that felt that they wanted to do something different, the patriots. So again, we live and we walk through these history, and people don't realize when they're walking by certain things. It's like, well, why is this particular parkway or community called a certain thing? That sounds like it comes from our Native American communities. And it says, oh, wait, yes, the Lenape tribe had basically control of all the land that was in the northeast corner from Virginia right up to where New Hampshire is. So again, we have to have that history. And the more we understand it, I really feel that we're better off from doing it. And that's why libraries are a core component of that, right? If you try to do things and we look through history and we see when there were book burnings and those kind of things where someone was trying to control the history by controlling the books and controlling whatever people could understand. And in people fighting, there's not one community in any part of our world that didn't have some authority try to tell them what to do, what to
Right.
think, and someone was writing it, and whether they were writing it on a stone or whether they were writing it in the front of their Bible or other documents, it didn't make a difference. And then that history got passed on through the oral means to say how we fought through this. And that's when you do this. I know for us in the county, I get a chance to do this at our cultural days. I tell folks all the time, I say, these cultural festivals are great for people to recognize the similarities and understand the differences and appreciate those differences because that's what makes us the United States.
And that's a wonderful way to put it. I think that, again, as you said, the history of our country and libraries in general, they provide us the books. We have elementary and middle and high school and so forth that teach the history of our country and where we've come from. And, these are critical pieces to understanding culture and help us, move forward as one to make things better for everybody, I think.
Yep, being in search of that more perfect union for all of us.
Yes.
I mean, as Yonkers guys, we could say, hey,
Yeah.
wait a second, there were four Carnegie libraries,
Yeah.
right? Like let's say four Carnegie libraries in the country that the Carnegie family decided to invest in to make sure that we had that more expansive view to be able to have a library like that. And of course, we tore ours down to make a turn or to straighten out a turn, down on Southborough Way, and we ended up building a courthouse there. But again, that's important to know and understand. It's like, why did somebody bother to do that? Why did the Carnegie family want to invest in libraries, and why did it choose to put them in the places that they did put them? And to be able to do that. And again, I can't emphasize as you do all the time, Dr. Sabol, about why the intersection between education and libraries are so important. They're so important in the state of New York, is where most of the libraries and library boards are connected to the Board of Education. So we're trying to make sure, at least in the state of New York and elsewhere around our country, that we're invested in having education and that connection to our library systems. Whereas right now, the federal government is trying to dismantle some of that, and trying to be able, again, to control that information. Again, I lovely say this a lot. American history, Black history from
Yeah.
American history,
Yeah.
and American history is complicated. And that complication isn't to say it was like not painful for people along the way. It says we got to learn from it, and that's how we get to be better. And that's why I feel so privileged, to serve as county executive for Westchester County, to be able to continue that fight for all of us to try to make sure every part of our county, and certainly our state, where I can, to be able to have those interactions with each other and understand there's a lot more similarities in the communities than there are
Yeah.
differences. There's a lot more similarities to cultures and the things that people expect from them. And the more that we have those interactions, people have an opportunity to sit back and go, wait a second, that's not so much different. I might not eat that kind of food, but you know what? Because that's a little too spicy for me. But
Right.
I'm going to eat this kind of food, and we're going to continue to do that. And we celebrate that here in Westchester, and our libraries are a big piece of that.
Yeah, right. County Executive Jenkins, I really appreciate your time. And I'm going to let you go because I know you probably, your phone's been ringing since we've been sitting here, I'm assuming.
Yes.
I really appreciate this time. And I thank you dearly.
Yeah.
And I really wish that you and hope that you stay in government and you keep pushing on and
No, I'm enjoying my job, Dr. Sabol. I
you
really enjoy this work that we do in Westchester. I'm just trying to do the very best that we can with our colleagues on the County Board of Legislators, all the municipalities. But the work that you're doing here in the cognitive edge, making sure that people understand and connect education to libraries and continue to make sure that happens. Thank you for what you do every day.
all right. Take care, Doc. Take care, kind of like take care. Bye bye.
Have a great day now.
You too.